here. There was a group of people from HRM from Bangalore. Those days when we were doing assessment centers, they were coming here from Bangalore to here to attend a program. So I was asking them what they had assessment center. We are very happy to go to IIM. Said, how are you coming here? No, we are all nominated for this program as a result of an assessment center our company has conducted. Oh, very good. Now tell me a little more about assessment center. He said, yeah, they had some exercises, some nonsense, but the most important thing is I have been nominated to go to IIM. That is the most important thing. So, okay, that is the only good part of it. Assessment and all that is a nonsense kind of a thing. So, I think we need to understand, it does not mean that assessment centers are bad. I think we all do. I am actively involved in assessment centers. So, but I think the whole question is to go beyond.
You know that these things have been used for further development of
all use it for further development of
ADCs, like so many
all of these depends on the way you handle it. I think the question is, the problem in many organizations have happened because particularly this is promoted by public sector, this nonsense I call it, because assessment center is successful. When you have done for 15 people, you gave them feedback, it was very useful. Now they say I want to extend it to 50 people, okay, but I want to extend it with 50 people with the least cost. Then I float a tender. That is the beginning of your death. You are finished, because you do not stop with 50, now you go to 500 and float a big tender, okay, and further down. But you put, then what is the consultant doing? The consultant will never refuse. The more number you give, more I am happy, because the more I can charge you, right. Now who am I catching hold of? I am catching hold of, nowadays there are many HR people who want to be entrepreneurs. Actually every second HR person wants to be an entrepreneur after working for 10 years, because they are fed up, they have seen. So they all set up their shops, okay, like all of us, maybe some of us have set bad examples for them, I do not know. They set up shops. Now they are looking for clients. Now these companies, all of them, they catch hold of these clients. There are many of them from respected institutions, and then they form a network. So I have to do assessment center for 500 people. I got hold of about 10 retired people from a bank, another 5-10 retired people from some other sector, and another 10-15 from XLRI or XIM who have set up their shops. Now I have 30 fellows, 500 people to be covered, and the company says you have to do it in 2 months time. This is normally public sector, 2 months time, least cost. So I say I will do it. Now then the negotiation starts. So what an assessment center used to cost 50,000 per head, now is offered for 5,000 per head. So you have all these people, and you do not do 2 days. I will introduce some Thomas profiling and MBTI, and then role play on the net, and then an in basket. Okay, in basket I will have Father McGrath's, many in baskets are there, so put here and there, and do that job. So I have done, I have completed my target, 500 people assessed with XLRI people background and retired senior people, and you have your development plans ready in a record time of 2 months. So what are you doing as a company? So you are now looking at them and say all of them have to be sent for some. Many of them say no, they have done the job, I have finished my MOU target as per the Ministry of Oil, finished. So I have done my job. So you have no commitment, you do not have the long term kind of a desire. So what happens, it is transactional, it is not, whereas the first program that you have done was a great program, and all the EDs or CGMs who went through that was a good program. I learned something about me, I needed to do general management and so on. Now these 500 people, all of them en masse were sent for a 3-tier program in IIM, senior manager, etc. Nice one to go to IIM, and that is the end of it. So if you have to do genuinely, everything needs time, everything has to be coached, everything has to be, and first of all, I mean, what is the validity that you have established of assessment centers? Assessment centers are very convenient ways of finding out whether you demonstrate certain competencies or not. So, to that extent is good, but the competency framework itself is questionable, because all competency frameworks have very similar competencies: strategic thinking, customer focus, right, people management skills, entrepreneurial orientation. There are 10 competencies which any consultant, only thing is they may change the terms and so on. But now if everyone needs only these competencies, now how come that you have failed and everyone is coming up with this? Academy's own program, Uma Jain has run this program. She was running this program on assessment centers, people sharing on the leadership and so on, in a Rivera Hotel. So, in the morning we had one of the vice presidents of an IT company, he talked of the competency model. He came, gave lecture and left. In the afternoon, a pharma company vice president came and he shared his competency model. And halfway through, when he completed his competency model, people said that, sir, your competency model is more or less similar to what in the morning we heard. How can IT and pharma have the same competency model? He said, I didn't know who is the person who spoke to you about IT. I am not an IT man, I am a pharma man. Okay. In the evening, I think somebody found out, called that vice president who left in the morning and asked them, the consultant. Okay. And then discovered both the IT and the pharma company had the same consultant. So, the competency model depends on the consultant you have, not the competencies. Okay. So, because now you go to any organization, you will come across similar terminology that is used. I think that is where you have to be very company specific, use the company language and help people to. Okay. Now, I am not saying therefore all this is bad, all this is good, because you want to be at global level of competence in terms of language, you want to use all the language. Okay. So, fine. McKinsey's language we should all use, because McKinsey is worldwide leader, correct. So, we should use, if you do not use then you are backward. We should all use strategic thinking, because the term strategy came from there, irrespective of whether strategy is criticized in Harvard magazines or not. It is okay, it is a good idea. Language is good, it does some good. I genuinely believe it does some good, it is not. So, I have no contempt for this, I think it is a good idea too. Okay, I have stopped here. I think we talked quite a bit to say that I think there are two avenues that are available for us. One avenue available is to dissolve HRD, not because it has not worked or it has failed, but because it is our job to work for self dissolution. The success of HRD is on the day when everyone becomes his or her own HR manager. If you worked for it, made everyone HR manager and helped them to understand human possibilities and work for it, you will become indispensable. You will become the corporate guru for that company. They will always be. So, you will never be jobless if you have done this. If you have led the company to a level where you are not needed, you become more indispensable. So, you become corporate acharya. Now, if you are taking time towards that, do the other thing. Start by thinking ahead of the CEO, building leaders, becoming one with the corporation, and by playing a leadership role, working on intellectual capital and so on. So, you will still have your job, but you have contributed, but that will eventually lead you to a step where you probably are not needed when other people grow. I mean, that is what I think is the future. So, the future is in our hands, like what I have said, future is of those who can get the best out of their own and others' talent. You should get the best out of your talent and other. I did not think that I will talk so much. I think I have talked quite a bit and you have been a very patient listeners. Any questions you have?
Yeah.
Yes.
We get rich experience in IR or HR. Yeah. One of senior might told me that you being a HR manager, you have to apply समझ लो समझा लो नहीं तो confuse कर दो. What opinion about that?
Very wise counsel. Very wise counsel. I may not agree with the last part of it. फर्स्ट टू आई एग्री, समझा दो या नहीं तो समझो, लेकिन कंफ्यूज मत करो। तो क्योंकि थोड़ा कुछ कन्फ्यूजन तो ऐसे ही रहेगा, समझने में या समझाने में थोड़ा कुछ कन्फ्यूज करने की ज़रूरत नहीं। I think you should. I normally believe, which is very difficult to practice, believe in transparency. I think it in the long term it helps. I think when you don't know, say that I am sorry, I don't know. I think we also have to create a culture of tolerance for ambiguity. Okay, I don't know. I mean, what is going to happen? So, first two are very important. I mean, I don't know why that person has said that, but I think he must be having his own perspective. As I said, we are all products of our memory. He is a product of his memory. So, you discover your own memory. You don't have to follow what he says or I say. Confused तो मैं ज़्यादा I don't think मैं मानता नहीं हूँ इतना. तो clarify, learn, continue to learn and be tolerant of not knowing this.
Not possible in IR, sir. Sometimes we have to make modified that.
What he means may be postpone. Okay, malified I'm not very sure. वो तो a particular philosophy है. It has worked for some years. It may work also in certain kind of contexts. I personally find it a little difficult to subscribe. Okay, I mean it's your value.
I belong to an organization where right from the top, right from the chairman, people encourage multiple thoughts on the subject. So
Yes.
if I'm going to take a decision, multiple people are asked for their views. The problem with, especially with HR, so that's the culture of the organization. Problem with most of the things that we do in HR is, in terms of whatever HR is doing, everybody has a view. And so if I am planning forecasting a manpower for next year, I do it based on certain things, but everybody can have a view. Why 20, why not 25, why not 30, why not 10? Everybody will have some basis to that and everybody can be right. That creates an environment of distrust on whatever HR is trying to bring to the table. And this is applicable to everything that HR does. So why do you want to do assessment center this way, not that way? Why this consultant, not that consultant? So everything can be questioned and debated in HR. How to deal with this kind of situation?
Well, first thing I think again I come back to your value, your transparency, number one. And number two, transparency doesn't mean that you keep on explaining each and everything to everyone who may not even understand the perspective and things like that. So, if you have to explain everything to everyone and take their views, you will have to bring them to a particular level. If people have different views and you are finding it difficult to contain all their views and they are getting dissatisfied and are not trusting you, that means somewhere there is a gap in terms of education, gap in terms of their understanding and your understanding. They are not aligned, their memories are different, your own whole kind of orientation is different and so on. I would say go step by step, don't open up everything that they may not be able to understand it, and educate them so that they understand and appreciate, and also create a culture where there is not one best way of doing things. In HR, I would still think that there is not one best way of doing things. Somebody may say, I don't even need assessment centers. I think in NTPC somebody commented, NTPC has done, I don't know if by any chance yesterday speaker talked to you about it. This is maybe much before he took over, almost about 7-8 years ago. NTPC worked on assessment centers for almost about 8 to 10 years. Now they must be continuing also, they may be doing that. One of the chairman of the company who went through the whole thing, all the sequence, at the end of it said that HPC believes strongly in this assessment center. They started them as purely developmental tools. Later I think they started using it maybe for other purposes. I don't know how much are they allowed to do it. So one of the person who went through all these centers said, I have come to one conclusion. I have seen year after year assessment centers being used. There is only one competency that is most important, that will make you pass through all assessment centers, and that is communication skills. If you have communication skills, you can emerge as winner in all assessment centers. So, stop all this and do only communication skills assessment. Now, there is a sense in what he has said, if you really look at it. There is a big sense in what we observed in earlier years when we conducted, we trained about 170 of their deputy general managers, and they in turn conducted. We found that those people who are good in communication skills by and large score well in many of those. We started wondering, are they, but communication skill is a very important part of managerial life. You can't just say that is the only skill that is important. You will have to be extra cautious in terms of that. So, what I am saying is, you need to argue with people, you need to be open minded, you need to research, you need to convince them. But one thing immediately, I mean whenever you can do, is to get them to understand there is not one way of doing things, and in HR we are constantly discovering transparency, opening up to a limited level and building their maturity levels. I would not get upset because everyone has a view, but I will get a little unhappy if they are unhappy that I have, that means I have failed in establishing that particular trust. So, I will take the onus on me, it is my failure if they are not trusting me, and I will work on the trust part of it. Again I have to communicate, I have to dialogue, I have to win over that. So, it is working with line managers in a select way, but continuously working with them. The easy solution is I will not share with them. Now, you have much worse situation, because they will start making stories about it now. I mean that is, I strongly believe in octopus values: openness, collaboration, trust, authenticity, which includes transparency and so on, proactivity, confrontation, confront when it is. If people are not trusting you, I think you will get back to them.